Welcome to Mountain Cooking with Missy. Look at there, guys. I'm whipping up this delicious 6-layer old-fashioned stack cake. So stay tuned. You can watch me make it from start to finish. Hey y'all, how's everybody doing today? How's all my mountain friends? All right, guys, I'm going to be whipping up something really special, okay? Old-fashioned stack cake. And it's not just any old-fashioned stack cake. It is Sister Vel's stack cake. Sister Vel was a lady in our church that's already gone on to be with the Lord, but she shared many of her recipes in my church's cookbook. Now, this is my church's cookbook. And so she made an old-fashioned stack cake. Now, I remember homecoming dinners. A lot of ladies in our church cooked, and Sister Vel would bring this cake, and many times for dinners, or she'd take it to people in the church. You know how, I mean, that's just the way, we always did things. I know, now Sister Vel's family also had roots from down in Southeast Kentucky, where I'm originally from. So I'm sure this recipe was passed down through the years to her family. But it is an old-fashioned stack cake. A lot of these recipes were born out of the mountains because, especially during the Depression era, because a lot of people you just made what you had sitting around the house, and it didn't need a lot of ingredients. So I'm going to walk y'all through this, and I will share the recipe. Once I upload this video, I will share this recipe. Recipes are found on the page. If you go under photos, you'll see albums, and then the albums there's an album that's titled recipes, okay? And under that album titled recipes is where I post recipes, okay? And the name of them right there should be easy for you to see. A lot of them are pictures that I've just fixed. You can save the picture to your phone. That way you can just go and look at it. And so I had a lot of people to ask me about that, so I wanted to go ahead and get that out of the way here and say up front where you can find it, okay? But this is an old-fashioned stack cake. Now, this is going to be a 6-layer cake, okay? And I'm going to read off right quick what is in this ahead of time. So you're going to need 3/4 cup of butter. So that's a stick and a half. Now, I've already got my butter in my mixing bowl here because you got to cream your butter into sugar. 3/4 cup of butter is a stick and a half, okay? And that is room temperature, and that is unsalted butter. And you're going to do a 1/2 cup of sugar. So you're going to combine that sugar. Here we go. Here's my 1/2 cup of white sugar, and I'm going to put it in with my butter here because you have to cream that, okay? So that's a 3/4 cup of butter and a 1/2 cup of sugar to start out with. And you're going to cream that. And you're going to do a cup of molasses. So this is called blackstrap molasses. A lot of people down in the mountains did what they call stir-offs, and they always made molasses. So molasses is used a lot in recipes. Gingerbread, I have a gingerbread recipe I'm going to be sharing with y'all soon. I know where it's Christmas time. This is kind of stuff that we made at Christmas. So blackstrap molasses, that's a cup. And you're going to you need a 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda, 1/2 cup of buttermilk, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, a 1/4 teaspoon of cloves, ground cloves, 3/4 teaspoon of allspice, 3/4 teaspoon of cinnamon, 3 cups of all-purpose flour. So my flour I always use is Hudson Cream all-purpose. Whenever I'm baking anything, when it comes to cakes, any kind of breads, I like Hudson Cream, because you don't have to sift it. A lot of people sift flour when they make stuff, especially baking, because flour can be lumpy. This flour is not lumpy, y'all. It is the softest flour you'll ever use. I love it. So it's Hudson Cream, And let me see here. And a teaspoon of baking powder. So that's what's going to be in this recipe. So I got my butter and my sugar, and I'm going to cream them together right quick and put them on my mixer. So let me get that mixing, and when it gets mixed, I'll come right back and show you all the rest. See, the sugar and the butter has been creaming together. And I think I may have forgot to mention, but this does call for 2 eggs. So this is 2 eggs that's been sitting out, that's room temperature. If you don't have, if you forgot to sit your eggs out, just put your eggs down in a little bit of warm tap water for a little bit, for like a couple of minutes, and that warms them right up. So what I do, I put the eggs in one at a time. I'm going to let that mix, and I'm going to stop the mixer here and scrape down the sides. Okay, I've scraped down the sides. Now you're going to add in the molasses. And to get your molasses to come out easier, just spray your measuring cup a little bit with some non-stick spray. That helps it come out a little better. So add your molasses in. I'm going to scrape that out, the rest of it. Okay, so I got the molasses, the sugar, and the eggs, and the butter all mixed together. So you got to do that first. So now let's do the dry ingredients. And I think I mentioned, if I didn't mention, this is going to be, you're going to bake this in 6 layers, 9-inch layers. I only have 4 9-inch pans, because these are my regular cake pans. So I can only do 4 at a time, but this will make 6 thin 1/2-inch layers, okay? If you want to do 4-inch and make them a little thicker, you can. That's up to you. But the recipe, the way the recipe is, you can do 6 9-inch layers. And you want to spray these really well with some non-stick spray. These I love. These are all this is the kind of cake pans I always use when I make cakes. And I just spray them and nothing sticks. They're great. They're really great. So let's do the dry ingredients. So you're going to do, and I forgot to mention, but you do need 2 eggs, and I think I did it in my other video shot. 2 eggs sitting out at room temperature. So I just want to throw that in because I think I left it out. If I did, I'm sorry. So you're going to mix your dry ingredients. So what you're going to do is you need 3 cups of flour. Okay, so you're going to put your flour in here. So what I do, I just put my flour because you're going to use the buttermilk to alternate as you put the flour in and your dry ingredients. And you don't ever want to pack flour in. If you're measuring this is a cup. Ain't it cute? I love my little cup. I got this at a flea market probably 20 years ago because I just loved it. It's a little tin cup. You always want to alternate your dry. Put your dry in with your wet, and also don't ever pack your flour down. When I put it in like that, I just level it off with my finger. Put this out. And this is your allspice, your cinnamon, and your salt. Let's see what else. And your cloves. Yeah. That I mentioned at the beginning. And this is your baking powder. Make sure I got, yeah, your baking powder. I get it all in there. So what I do, I just measure it, mix it with a spoon. Smells good. So now we're going to add all this to our molasses mixture, and we're going to use the buttermilk to alternate it in. Okay, when we come back, we'll get it all done. To let you guys know, now that this is a half a cup of buttermilk. The baking soda, 1/4 teaspoon, goes in your buttermilk. And you just want to stir that around. So this is what you start to do. You're going to pour in, what I do, I just take it, put in some of my flour and my spices. This is all the dry ingredients. I'm going to do right at half of it. Keep it on low. Now you're going to drizzle in your buttermilk. Just a little at a time. You will have to scrape the sides down. If you don't have a KitchenAid, you can use you can use a hand mixer if you want. Okay. Pour the flour. I usually do it in 3s. Look how dark it is. Looks so good. It looks like chocolate. Okay. The last of it. I'm going to scrape down the sides. As you see, I've already scraped the sides down and it's pretty much done. You don't ever want to, with any kind of cake, especially scratch cakes, you don't want to over mix. And see, what I love about the Hudson Cream is it's smooth. And by the way, Hudson Cream doesn't pay me. I'm not affiliated with them or anything like that. It's just what I like to use. And for me, that I get the best results. And at this point, I like to get a little taste. Very good. So now it's time to pour into the pans. All right, y'all, we're back. And it's time to bake. Time to bake the layers. All right, look at this. Look at that. It looks like chocolate, but that's the dark molasses and the allspice and the cloves and everything that gives this cake such a rich, dark look. Basically, what this is a spice cake recipe. At this point, if you wanted just to make 2 layers, you could just a 2-layer regular cake and make it into a spice cake if you wanted. But the traditional stack cake is just what the name says, stack cake. The layers is what makes it good. So what I do, I just spray these really well. You want them to just flip right out. The oven is set, preheated to 350, and these bake really quick because they're thin. 10 to 12 minutes maybe, just watch them. Just make sure, don't over bake them. But you don't want them under baked either because they'll fall just keep an eye on them. I just bake them until they're done. And when I can like touch the top of them with my fingers and it kind of bounces back, then I know they're ready. So what I do, I just do it like this because I don't have a weight, like a scale. You just have to eyeball it. The thinner the layers, the better. So what I do is just spread it out. Spray the back of one of these right here, and you can spread them out. I remember my Aunt Lucy would make these, and she would, oh gosh, her layers were thin as paper.
How'd she do it?
I don't know. I never did see her really make them. I just remember eating stack cakes. They would make these and make them for Christmas and stuff, and they would keep them covered. Now this cake is better to keep covered out, room temperature. Don't chill it because it's better. Now I'm going to make, the filling is dried apples. So there you go, just spread it out, make sure you ain't got no holes. And it's going to spread out some when it bakes too. So you want to keep this room temperature. This cake will store for days. They used to keep them for about a week. As long as you're keeping them covered, and the longer it sits, the better it gets. Because anytime you are using spices like this, they get stronger. And the filling is a dried apple filling, but I'm not going to be doing a dried apple filling. I'm going to actually just use apple butter to fill this. But the recipe that I'm going to share has her dried apple filling recipe in it. And I will be sharing that. I don't have dried apples. Dried apples can be expensive nowadays. When we were growing up...
Mama has them in her freezer.
Yeah. When we were growing up, we made our own dried apples. Because, you know, we had apple trees. Papa had an apple tree in his yard. And we just set them out. We'd set thin apple slices out on the, like on a bed sheet, and set it out and let the apples dry. And so, again, this is a mountain recipe. A lot of you use what you had. So dried apples is better, but to me, if you use a really good apple butter, it's just as good. So I'm going to finish the rest, and then I'll put this in the oven. And when they come out, I'll show y'all what they look like, and then we'll put it together. Okay, these are the layers, see? And I want to show y'all how I check them to see if they're done. I just take my fingers, and it's spongy, and they're done. These baked in about 10 minutes for me. The recipe says 12, but I checked them after 10. So all ovens vary. So for mine, they were done in about 10 minutes. All right, y'all, the layers are all done. The kitchen smells amazing. When you bake this kind of cake or any kind of spice cake or anything with cinnamon and all that good stuff in it, it just makes the house smell good. It makes it smell like Christmas. So I'm going to show y'all how I assemble this cake. Now this is the first layer. Look at that, how thin it is. And I went ahead and put this down on my cake base. This is for my cake container. And I just put the first layer down. Now the recipe calls for the filling is a dried apple filling originally. I'm not doing that because I don't have dried apples, and we don't eat dried apples a lot. Dried apples are really good for this cake, but a lot of people also use apple butter. And apple butter is, to me, just as good. And so I am going to be using apple butter. But I will be sharing this recipe. If you want to use the apple filling, the recipe will be posted under photos. Go under albums in my page. And the albums will be titled recipes. And this is going to be old-fashioned stack cake. Sister Vel's old-fashioned stack cake. So let me show you how to put it together. So this is a 19-ounce jar of apple butter, and this is, you do thin layers. You don't need a lot. So what I do, I just put the apple butter on in thin layers, and you can put as much apple butter on it as you want, or if you're using apple butter. So I really don't know how much I just did. I'm just layering it on, and you want to go all the way to the edges because sometimes the edges can get a little dry, and you want this cake to be moist. And this cake is best when you let it sit for at least, my mama used to make these, and she would make them, sometimes she would put applesauce. If you have applesauce, you can do applesauce if you don't have apple butter. Now this is dark because of the allspice and everything, and the cloves made this a really dark cake in the molasses. So I went all the way to the edge with my apple butter, okay? Now you can use applesauce too. So if you let this sit for a few days, it gives it time to soak up and it won't be dry. You don't want it dry, okay? And the other layer goes right on top, like that. And now I put the layers upside down because this side of the cake, this is actually the bottom of the cake, of the cake layers. It's porous. So if you can see the little holes in there, I put them upside down because the apple butter will soak in there a lot better. To me, that's the way I do it. That way it gets in there really good. Yeah, so you do this all the way to the edges and do as much as you want. If you want more, you can do more. So I'm just dumping out my layers here. Now, if your layer happens to tear, don't worry about it, guys. This cake don't have to be perfect. You can piece it together. No problem, okay? So this one tore a little bit, but that's all right. Because y'all know real life happens when it comes to baking. Not everything turns out perfect. So this one just fits. It come apart a little bit, but I was able to piece it right together. See how I did that? See? So I'm gonna put this on, and then I'm going to just keep repeating. And when it's done, I will show y'all what it looks like. I want to show you guys how to loosen up a cake for your any cake. This is how you need to do it. Take your knife, like a butter knife or something, run around your edges. Okay. And when you do that, I just take it, what y'all see? I just take it pat it down. And it comes comes right out. So this is the last layer. And I'm just spreading it. As you can see, that's the upside down, that's the bottom end of the cake layer. It's porous. You want that to soak in. Now I'm doing thin layers of apple butter. You can do more if you want, or you can, if you follow the recipe and you want to do the dried apple filling, that's all right too. Or you can use applesauce, but you can use as much as you want. But traditionally, these were very thin layers, and you all go all the way to the edge. That way you don't have no dry edges. And you're going to cover this cake, because the longer it sits, the better it gets actually. And I would suggest that if you're making this for Christmas, you can always double the recipe if you want it higher. I've seen them stacked way higher, but if you want it double the recipe, you could make it way higher if you want. But let it set at least a day, 24 hours before you serve it, and cover it. So I'm going to cover this up, and the longer it sits, the better it gets. But keep it covered. Don't put it in the fridge. Leave it out. Let it sit, and all those flavors will come together. That filling will soak into them layers, and it will be delicious. So it's all finished. You see all the layers there. And I'm going to cover it up and let it sit. But there you go, guys. It's old-fashioned stack cake. Sister Vel Hatfield's recipe. Here's my good old taste tester.
It's a bad job that somebody's got to do it.
Yeah. Daddy's taking a bite. What do you think, Daddy?
I think I need a glass of milk or coffee.
All right,
Oh
give
my.
us your... So see how the layers, it's not dry.
No, it's not. It's fantastic.
Yeah,
Oh my.
yeah.
Yep. Give me some coffee and I'll be happy.
Daddy approves of this Sister Vel Hatfield stack cake. Old-fashioned stack cake. Look at there, y'all. And really, truly, the longer it sits, the better it gets.
I don't know that I've ever had stack cake. But this is great.
There you go, Daddy. Daddy's got some stack cake. All right, guys. Thank y'all for watching. There it is. See, there it looks when you cut into it, but there's what it looks like. It's really good. All right, guys. Thanks for watching Mountain Cooking with Missy, where it's nothing fancy. Daddy said, just good eating. He's not good all eat.
I have, man. That's cool.
All right.